Hello guys, it is Tamara. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about generational cycles, but I want to talk about ways to break through those generational cycles. We talked a little bit in the last video about what causes those generational cycles and what to look for in your life and maybe in your family member's life when you suspect a generational cycle. So let's go ahead and just jump into this video. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. For all of you who are subscribed and participating, thank you so much. And for those who are new, I encourage you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can stick around with us and be a part of our growing and validating community. In case you don't know who I am, let me go ahead and introduce myself briefly. My name is Tamara, and I'm an internationally and board certified trauma therapist, but I'm also a licensed therapist, and I work and specialize with children, teens, and families in my own private practice. So what typically comes to mind for you when you think about breaking free from generational cycles? A lot of my clients and a lot of people that consult with me really struggle with how to break through those generational cycles. It's really hard to figure out how to deal with intergenerational trauma. It's not an easy topic to begin with. And then it's not a topic that's spoken about a lot of in mainstream media. We don't see a lot of books on intergenerational trauma, and we certainly do not see a lot of videos on the topic either. You really have to do a specific search for those particular books and those videos. So how do you even learn how to break free, right? What does break free, look like? What does breaking free actually entail? And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. I also think a lot of people are looking for like this specific step-by-step guide on how to break free from these cycles that have, become really ingrained in their lives for many, many years, Intergenerational trauma is just not a repeated pattern of traumatic experiences. They are negative experiences that have had a major impact on how you think about, see, and process your life. It also has an impact on how strong you are in terms of managing your own emotions and your own thoughts and, really connecting with other people in relationships. The best way I think to think about intergenerational trauma is, it's really like this ingrained family issue that has gained momentum over the years because of its repeated pattern that's negative, So an example of that would be like alcoholism or, repeated patterns over generations of untreated bipolar disorder, right? Maybe even something like autism, right? An autism spectrum disorder or, generations of developmental disabilities. So, those are the kind of things that, are really hard to disrupt and dismantle just because you want to put your willpower into doing that. I think healing intergenerational trauma entails a series of actions, behaviors, and it also entails a mindset that is really, bent on surviving, because you're going to have to unwire a lot of ways that you've learned to think and you've learned to process life and you've learned to respond to things and you've learned to get your way and you've learned to, function and survive in your world. You're going to have to undo all of that. And in order to undo it, you're going to have to take a series of steps. But in this video, I want to give you at least some starting points to kind of get going. And I'm going to try to post some information in the description box below that talks a little bit more about intergenerational trauma and generational cycles. I also will try to find some resources on family curses. I know I've done videos on this in the past, so I will post them around as we go along, I should say. Okay, let's jump into breaking that generational cycle, and keep in mind that these are just introduction stages or introductory stages, I should say. Okay, the first way to break a generational cycle, okay, and I think that this is the most essential piece of the whole journey, is to build personal and familial insight. What I mean by that is this: developing personal insight is learning about you. It's taking that time to process who you are psychologically, emotionally, and who you are in relation to other people in your world. How do I engage in relationships? How do I process relationships? What do I perceive are good relationships, right? Because you can perceive relationships in many ways. And if it's a toxic or unhealthy way, that's going to add to the generational cycle. So you want to be able to step back, and you can do that through journaling, therapy, time away on your own, traveling the world, or going to different cities, different areas, really taking 20 minutes, 15 minutes out of your day to just sit with yourself and journal. You can also kind of, take up a hobby, dancing. You can do whatever you need to do to figure out who you are, right? When I graduated from grad school a couple years ago, I was just so pressed to, learn. I loved learning, and I had this momentum. I was on a roll, and I had started college early. I went at 18 and a half or 17 and a half, and I ended up there when I was 18 and a half. And then I went through 3 years. I graduated within 3 years. And then my 4th year of college, I was able to take grad school classes. So I was able to accelerate. And during that whole time, I had no me time. I was studying, I was doing internships, I was traveling. I was, really building my ideas and my therapeutic techniques and my style and learning and working different places and becoming a therapist. During that whole process, I didn't know who I was, I don't think, 100%. And so it took me about a year. I took off a year to just be with myself, be with my mom, be with my brothers, be with my family, right? Figure out who I wanted to, have in my life as a male, as a romantic interest, right? I really had to learn, about my desires. Do I want children right now? Do I not? Do I want to wait? Yes, I decided, I really had to figure out, what do I want? And I had to take a year off to do so. So that year I was able to engage in introspection and really build my identity. So that's something that you're going to want to do yourself, okay? The other thing is build familial insight. So you want to do some research into who I am, what's my culture, what do we believe, who believes what, which way do we go, why do we go this way in life, right? Who's healthy, who's unhealthy, who's toxic, who's non-toxic, who do I really want to spend the rest of my years with within my family, who I really don't. So you want to be able to grasp who you are individually and who you are within your family, okay? That is important. Personal insight is step number 1, all right? The next thing is learn about intergenerational trauma. That's why I'm going to post some things in the description box for you so that you can begin that journey of learning what it is. You want to get a clear and concrete understanding of what intergenerational trauma is so that you cannot tag everything as intergenerational trauma. You want to be able to tag the most important things in your life as generational trauma so you can separate what has really impacted you negatively and what has impacted you but maybe not in the same way as generational trauma. Okay, the third thing that I have on my list here is use YouTube, but use it wisely. I want you to be able to, come to videos like mine, go to videos like these right up here, and this one right up here. And you want to be able to, go to different channels and see what other people are experiencing. Maybe you don't want to listen to a therapist, somebody that has clinical and professional experience all the time. Maybe you want to listen to somebody who's more personal and able to kind of relate to you at a certain level. So going to YouTube and typing in intergenerational trauma and learning about maybe somebody else who's an aunt or a grandmother or a girlfriend who's dealing with this might be more beneficial to you because it's more equal. So just engaging in YouTube, but doing it wisely, because anybody can put a camera on and say, hey, whoop, here I am, camera, lights, action, time to perform. And I've seen videos like that and I'm like, oh my God, no. So be careful, use it wisely, but use it. And you can also do that with blogs as well. There's plenty of blogs that talks about trauma and domestic violence and family trauma. So you really want to get into that, okay? But do it wisely. The next thing that I have on my list for you is work on rebuilding yourself and your life skills. If you want to go back to school, go. If you want to take a class to kind of build your knowledge, go. If you want to get a new job and kind of feel what it's like to be in a different role in a position, go. If you've been waiting to apply for a higher position, but you're just so insecure that you're not sure if you can do it, do it, right? So work on rebuilding yourself, work on rebuilding your, your life view and who you are. Work on rebuilding yourself, okay? And rebuilding your life skills. And you can do that little by little. You don't have to rush. You don't have to feel pressured. Just do it. And I think you can. You just have to be able to, direct yourself in the right area, push out distractions that are unhealthy and toxic people, and just set your mind to it. And I think you can do that. All right. The next thing is build focused thoughts. And what I mean by that is, really try to focus your life on one particular goal. What do you believe in? Do you believe that, you have to find a firm path in this world and stick to it to stay out of trouble? If that's the case, focus your entire life. Focus your entire thought patterns on doing that. What are the steps that you need to take to ensure that you have a firm pattern in your life, that you have a firm footing in your life, right? Focused thoughts, that's what I call them, are also thoughts that kind of, they extend, 5 years out. So this is where I want to be this year, next year, the year after that. It may not happen quite that way, but at least you have a focused series of thoughts that can guide you in that direction, okay? Nothing is predictable, as you know, in this life. I've learned that this year. If nothing else, nothing is predictable. Nothing is predictable is what I'm trying to say. So I think it's okay to feel like, well, I don't know what's going to happen next year. That's totally fine. But it's still good to have those focused thoughts. It's kind of like a motivator. It gives you some direction. It narrows your perspective, okay? The next thing that I have for you is focus on achieving milestones, okay? When I utilize this for my clients, this is how I usually do it. I say, okay, what's a milestone for you? Well, some of my kids, if they're like 13, they'll say 16 is a milestone. Okay, let's focus on getting to age 16 then. How do we do that? Well, we're not going to drink. We're not going to engage in sexual relationships, between the ages of 13 and 16. We're not going to get drunk. We're not going to get high, right? We're not going to do risky things, and the list goes on. So you want to be able to focus on milestones, okay? 16 is a milestone for some kids. Maybe a milestone for you is, I'm going to get married. Great. Once you get married, right, how is your life going to be after that? So focus on those milestones in your life. Going off to college, that's another milestone. Graduating from college and graduate school, that's another milestone. Opening your own business, that's another milestone. If you focus on those milestones, the steps that you have to take to get there get just a little easier, all right? The next thing is consider psychotherapy. And I'm just going to say this, okay? I'm a psychotherapist, and I think you should be very, very careful with who you go into therapy with, right? We all think differently. We all have different styles and modes of counseling. We all have different, ways that we see the world and our own personal lives, right? So, when you're thinking of psychotherapy, make sure that you find the right one, and the right one that has the skill set that you need to get from point A to point B, okay? So consider psychotherapy, but be wise about that also. Psychotherapy could be like YouTube. You can find anybody, right? But is it the right person? That's the question, okay? The next one is embrace epigenetics, okay? And that's the last one I have for you guys. Embrace epigenetics, which is the study of how trauma can be transmitted via genes. And I did a video right up here about that, and I talked a little bit about it in my previous video, and I might do some more videos moving forward. But I think if you focus on epigenetics and learn about what it is, it might give you some insight into what's going on in your own life and in your own world in terms of generational cycles. It might give you some insights. I'll try to go ahead and post some things in the description box for you, okay? Thank you so much for being with me today, guys, in this video. I encourage you to give it a thumbs up and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to stick around with us. I'm going to come back with another video. We're going to continue these conversations moving forward. And thank you so much, guys. I wanted to thank you, and I totally forgot at the beginning of the video, for helping me get to 12,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for that. And I hope that these videos will continue to be helpful to you. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.